Hello and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, Michiru's route. In the last episode, Yuuji and Michiru went out looking for Meowmel, or Kitty Meow, or Rommel, the cat that Michiru had taken a liking to, as he had gone missing when Michiru hadn't had time to give him attention. Yuuji and Michiru searched all the places they knew Meowmel could be, but on the way back from the ridge near the ocean, a spot that Michiru loves, they found Meowmel dying as he had been hit by a car. Despite rushing him away in a cab, Meowmel died in Michiru's arms, obviously causing a huge trauma, and the last episode ended with Yuuji finding Michiru as she had tried to overdose herself to death. Let's continue. Maybe she just wanted to avert her eyes from reality for a brief moment. Maybe she wanted to make a permanent escape from this claustrophobic box. Nobody knows Michiru's reasons. I can speculate endlessly, but it won't get me any closer to a definite answer. It might even be that the girl herself has no real explanation. Self-destructive behavior isn't going to change the world around you. Your pain won't make the time run backward. Reality is not going anywhere. Michiru told our classmates that Michiru had collapsed from anemia, letting them know about a suicide attempt would without a doubt have created a counterproductive uproar. At this rate, the girl's going to end up shifting from a pseudo Sundara to a sickly character. Morning. Morning. How are you feeling? I'm fine, no problems. After a few days of rest, Michiru's returned to a normal routine. At a glance, it's hard to believe she might have deliberately attempted to end her own life. The others were fairly worried, but when Michiru brought up the normal Sundara song and dance, they apparently decided she was completely back to normal. But I think otherwise. The girl's absolutely not the same. If anything, she seems like an entirely different person. To be perfectly frank, she looks like a lifeless doll acting out a fictional character. What? Don't stare at me like that, alright? Right, sorry. By the way, I found a compromise. But today Michiru strikes up a conversation from her end. After the incident, we have only had the briefest of interactions, so this comes as something of a surprise. Oh? What kind of compromise? I made up my mind. I don't need to be happy. I'll just keep breathing and forget about the rest. Stop hoping, that should fix everything, right? That doesn't strike me as much of a solution. It's like closing your eyes and covering your ears when the debt collector knocks on your door. Who's going to pay the bill in your place? It's not like that. Anyway, I don't need anything anymore, okay? You're free, Yuuji. What's that supposed to mean? It means you don't have to worry about me anymore. No need to babysit me from now on. The nuisance is officially off your hands. Good news, right? I don't remember changing your diapers, and if I thought you were a nuisance, I'd say so. What are you even talking about, woman? It's okay. I understand how it really is, so you don't need to be nice to me like that, alright? Kasami-san, Michiru-sama, good morning to you both. When Sachi appears, Michiru abruptly changes her expression and hurls out an energetic greeting. Oh, if it isn't Sachi! Looks like you're in the maximum Mega Maid mode again today, eh? But of course, I'm everyone's maid after all. And yourself? Are we in maximum Mega Sundara mode this morning? That should go without saying! Not that it goes without saying or anything. Oh me, oh my. As always, your Sundara sense is truly stupefying, teehee. I know, right? Well, no need to flatter me so much, teehee. Was that really flattery? Rather than flattery, perhaps you could describe it as a status report? At the very least, it wasn't an insult. See, Yuuji, she's not insulting me. In other words, she's complimenting. Michiru-sama, are you alright? Sing me, right? Huh? What do you mean, I'm fine? Your complexion seems rather pale. Is it your anemia again? Your lips are purple as those of a child emerging from the pool on a cold day. I'm fine. Nothing serious. I've been getting on by nothing but vitamins lately. You know, yes, I slipped up and forgot my iron. Shall I fetch you some liver later? Yeah, sure, when you get the chance. But of course. Well then, please excuse me. Michiru, my friend, try not to push yourself. I'm not really pushing myself, but yeah, I guess I'll go take a little nap. I think that would be wise. Michiru shuts herself up in her room for several hours, only emerging that evening. Her face is slightly less pallid, but she is still carrying herself a little oddly. Hey, managed to calm down a little? Yeah, I was calm from the start for your information. I mean... Oni-chan! Chiru! Why are you wearing the uniform? It's summer vacation, you know? Michiru starts in surprise at Makina's words. Seems to have only just realized that her choice of clothes is somewhat unusual for this time of year. I'd made a tactful decision to not comment on the matter, but Makina is a free spirit, unbound by such concerns. Michiru may be making a decent effort to hide it, but she's in a disturbed, unstable frame of mind. The girl pretty clearly isn't capable of paying attention to her clothing right now. Huh? Well, come on, you're wearing yours too, Makina. Sometimes I wear mine even when they ain't school. That's just how I roll. Well, it's how I roll too, so there! Okay, you two, let's not fight. So, how's it going, Michiru? You feeling okay? But of course, I'm just coming back from a triathlon, actually. That's a joke, right? Why would you enter an Ironman race right after being sick? A gesture to my concerned public. Got to show you people that Michiru-sama's going strong. Oh, I gotcha. Just for future reference. That's stupid. Hey, Oni-chan, let's go play shadow tag outside. The weather's perfect, you know. It's a shadow walkie out there. This girl's been going on and on about wanting to play with you, Yuuji. She even started practicing by herself, running around doing this bizarre shadow tag thing. You know, like shadow boxing, I guess. Except not. That's right. I've been training up by shadowing the shadow. It's like the words are playing with me. Such linguistical mayhem. I see. Well, I wouldn't really mind, but... Before answering, I glance at Michiru out of the corner of my eye. There's a clearly unhappy expression on her face, and she restlessly grinding her foot against the floor. Considering that tough act this afternoon about setting me free or whatever, she looks distinctly jealous over me holding a mere conversation with Makina. Alright, I'll play once you become a true expert at attacking shadows. Until then, content yourself with your image training. Huh? What a meanie! When I accept your challenge, I'll tax my imagination to the utmost and shadow battle the shadows tag. I got to forget that I'm actually seeing my shadowy foe! I'm pretty sure that was just your shadow. Alright, this is just a normal shadow. Phew, that was close. Nearly had me going there. I'm gonna just take a nap in that empty room for a while. Are you feeling sick again? Is everything okay? I'm fine, rest assured. Wasn't your pronunciation a little weird there? Russ? Huh? Rust? Okay, bye! Matsushima-san, I wasn't able to give you these last time, but I brought back 6. Sorry, Yumiko, let's talk about it later. The penna... Oh. Michiru doesn't seem to be fully recovered, does she? Hey, Yuuji, maybe someone should go and check up on her. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I'll go. Michiru, you alright? Answer me. You don't look so hot after all, Michiru. Let's... Come here for a sec. Michiru grabs my wrist and unceremoniously drags me into the unoccupied room. Now, if only I understood Japanese, but unfortunately I do not, so I don't know what's going on there. Oh! Did not expect that one. What's wrong? The others are worried, you know. I don't think I can stand this after all. Michiru mumbles a spectacular and adequate explanation in a tear-choked voice. I honestly don't know what she's trying to say. I want to... you know... Want to do what? If you have something to say, then say it. Pretend it's fine, but I want to kiss. Say what? What is this girl thinking? I stopped by out of concern for her physical well-being and she drags me in here for this, of all things? I don't understand you. First you go on about how you don't want anything from me anymore, and now you're demanding kisses? I'm sorry. The truth is, I'm so scared. I don't even know what to do anymore, so please, can we pretend again? Even if it's a lie, I think it will help. Is playing pretend really going to satisfy you? I don't know, but if we go all the way, maybe it'll help a little. All the way? What's that supposed to mean? Michiru looks at me with an earnest expression and pleads her case. Please, my heart hurts. I don't think I can stand this much longer. I want a reason why I can be here. I want something to help me believe that I matter. I decline. Huh? You're just in a temporary state of mental agitation. Sorry, but I don't make a habit of playing with distraught women. I'm not distraught. I'm the same as always. You sure as hell don't look it. Just do what I say, idiot. Come on already. I can't help but let out a little tactless laughter. I guess the girl's trying to demonstrate she's the same as always by means of this incredibly strained tsundere act. But seriously, why are you laughing? Hurry up and pretend to love me already. Honestly, you really are an idiot. Shut up! Are you going to do this or not? Make up your mind. Alright, since you insist that strongly, I'll play along. But is this really going to accomplish anything? I don't know, but if you do it, I'll feel a little better, and I think I'll find the courage to tell you about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff, is it? Well, whatever, that works. I do have a lot of things I want to ask you. I pull Michiru close to me and bring my face to hers. When our lips touch lightly, a soft moan escapes from the corner of her mouth. Just as requested, I repeat gentle, affectionate kisses of the sort a loving couple might share. Something wrong? Your breathing seems to have gotten rough all of a sudden. No, it hasn't. Idiot. Still trying to pull the tsundere act, huh? In that case... As I press my lips against Michiru more strongly than before, I feel her body go stiff as a board. Cut it out! You said to go all the way, didn't you? I really will stop if that's what you want. But she quickly catches the sleeve of my shirt to halt my retreat. Don't really stop. Didn't you just tell me to cut it out? That wasn't... well, yeah, but that's not what I meant. Figure it out already. I see. In that case, next time I won't stop, even if you ask me to. Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to spell it out, okay? Idiot. The girl's tough tone fades in and out at random. Feeling nervous, it would seem. Maybe a slight different approach is called for. Don't make me do all the work, Michiru. Try starting a kiss yourself for once. Huh? Compared to me kissing you unilaterally, a give-and-take exchange would be more couple-like, don't you think? Yeah, guess there's no helping it, but this is really a special exception, alright? Right. I bring my face toward Michiru's and stop, just as my lips are about to make contact with hers. Her cheeks flush a vivid shade of red. Seems she's taken the hint. After a hesitant moment where her eyes flit back and forth, Michiru softly touches her lips to mine, lightly sucks against my mouth, then retreats. Before she has a chance to turn her face aside in embarrassment, I follow up and kiss her in return. We press our lips together again and again, alternating attack and defense. Michiru? Yuuji, I wanted to do this for so long. Whenever our mouths part for a moment, Michiru looks up at me with moist eyes. I reach out to stroke her cheek, then gently wrap my arm around her shoulder and pull her closer. Before I know it, Michiru's fallen asleep in my arms, but we can't exactly lie around here all day. I lift the girl onto my back and head for her room. I wait at Michiru's bedside as she sleeps, occupying myself with a book. I feel a little exasperated at myself for reading at a time like this, but it's the surest method I have of regaining emotional balance. It's not like I'm an indifferent robot. Sleeping with Michiru has complicated my feelings more than a little. When I look up from the book for the first time in a while, the girl's awake and watching me quietly. I ask if she's feeling alright, prompting a quiet, "It hurts." "What? Did I knock you against something on the way up here?" "That's not it. You know what I'm talking about, stupid." "Sorry about that." "Why are you apologizing? I was glad. Thanks." As she speaks, Michiru offers me a sincere smile for the first time in a while. "Alright then. We're done playing make-believe for the moment, so why don't you tell me what you've been hiding? I'll hear you out." Yeah, I don't really know where to start myself, but I lower my paperback to the floor, shifting my attention to Michiru's story. Ooh, get them both. There's another me inside me. I'm not playing with words or anything. It really is a completely different person. My body doesn't belong to me alone. That really scares me, but it's thanks to her that I'm even alive today. She knows everything about me, but I know nothing about her. In that case, which of us has the better claim to be the real me? I was born into a relatively wealthy family. My parents valued me highly, all the more so because I was their only child. They provided me with an excellent education, hoping to raise me into a worthy daughter, one they could show off with pride. Although I was still a child, no, maybe it's because I was still a child, they brought countless tutors to our home to pack knowledge into my head, like travelers stuffing all their luggage into one tiny overburdened suitcase. The tutors were all excellent in their fields, and they all charged heavily for their lessons. After studying with them, even the most uncooperative and dim-witted of children could be safely sent off into the world. But I guess I was sort of a special case. It took a lot of time and trouble for me to learn the simple thing. When shown a perfectly clear example, then told, "Now you try, please," I couldn't even imitate my tutors properly. I understood what I needed to do, but when I tried to put that knowledge into practice, my voice would quake and my throat would go dry. Even though I wasn't being threatened in any way, tears would come to my eyes. Piano, violin, arithmetic, and the English alphabet, it was all the same, no matter what subject. When I hesitated, my tutors would say, "You didn't understand? I'll do it one more time," and repeat the example faster than before. And then they would glare at me with eyes that said, "Get it right already." That really, really scared me. My body would freeze up entirely, my clothes would grow damp with sweat. By the time my molars began to chatter against each other, I could no longer muster the strength to even try. The tutor would scowl down at me, looking ready to burst into angry shouting at any moment. The heavier their gazes weighed on me, the less I could move or think. Time crawled past in empty silence. In the end, the tutor would simply sigh in exasperation and leave the room. It wasn't uncommon for my lessons to end with nothing more than that. Dejected and humiliated, I could only reflect on my own uselessness. As I stood in my quiet room, stock still and alone, eventually I would hear an angry voice from outside. "Maybe our daughter isn't progressing because you're incompetent." Again and again, violent words rattled against my window pane like fat drops of icy rain. I would cover my ears and wait for the storm to pass. It tended to go on for quite some time. When the shouting finally ended and silence returned, my father would come to my room and open the door. "What's the matter, Michiru? You don't need to feel nervous around your teachers. You're a child, you know. You can do it if you try. Don't worry, I told these incompetents to get their act together and help you develop your talents. Just make sure to give it your best shot next time, alright?" "Yeah, I'll work hard." "That's the spirit. I know. Had your eye on anything lately? I'll buy whatever you want." My dad was nice to me. It was hard to believe that he was the same person who'd been shouting at the teacher just a few minutes ago. When he held me against his broad, powerful chest, I smelled cigarettes and woman's perfume. Never the same brand twice. It was comfortable, but also a little scary. I've got to do better next time. I can't let Daddy and Mommy down. That night I knelt by the window, joined my small hands together and prayed to the stars. "God, please watch over me. Please help me study and do my lessons properly." The next day was my regular music lesson. I sat perched quietly in front of a piano that had been shipped overseas from Hamburg, waiting for the teacher to arrive. In that moment, if somebody had snuck up and hit the keyboard, I might have tumbled right off the bench. My anxiety and fear must have shown on my face. When my tutor finally arrived, she closed the door carefully behind her and immediately came to my side. You, my dear, are truly a worthless little idiot. Did you know that? She spoke in a very gentle voice, so for a moment the sentence didn't really register, but all too soon I realized that she had spoken awful, terrifying words. Come on, repeat after me. I am a stupid, worthless human being, miss. Huh? Ah! The tutor struck me with a thin, stiff rod. The stinging pain of the blow lingered like a nasty paper cut. Do you not understand Japanese? That is not the response I asked for. Huh? But I... Come on, say it. Your father called me impotent because of your failures, you know. It's all your fault, isn't it? You're the only one to blame here. Come on, I am a useless, stupid, worthless human being, miss. I didn't want to say it. Even a child could understand how cruel those words were. But I was so terrified of being struck again that I squeezed them out anyway. I am a useless, stupid, worthless human being, miss. Yes, you certainly are. Well done. Now, let's begin our practice, shall we? Yes. Oh, that's right. Don't go showing your father where I disciplined you, all right? I'd have to kill you. I don't think she could have been serious, but my entire body shrunk in fear. I was so terrified that I couldn't answer, and since I didn't respond, she hit me again. Yes. From that day on, violence came to be known as discipline. Good girl. Well then, let's begin the lesson. Okay. I had numerous tutors, but after that day, it wasn't long before every one of them began to discipline me in the same way. That female tutor might have told the others that I wouldn't tattle to my parents, no matter what they did to me. Their discipline grew more refined with time, developing into a kind of an art. They found ways to cause me pain without leaving telltale marks behind. Skillfully and thoroughly, they broke me in mind and body. It became impossible for me to look people in the eyes when I spoke. I was never good at holding lengthy conversations, but my responses grew shorter with every passing day. By the end, I was barely speaking at all. Even then, my suffering might have been slightly meaningful if those Spartan lessons had produced results. But no matter how hard I tried to please my tormentors, it never improved my evaluations. My father dismissed the tutors in ones and twos over my terrible results, until none remained. They cursed me to my face before they went. Some even spat onto the floor of my room before stalking out. Michiru, did something bad happen? No, not really. I see. Well, it's alright if you can't study or play an instrument. I'll be happy just to see you grow up healthy and strong. Yeah. But I was unable to fulfill even that modest hope. On my walks around the garden, I would sometimes find myself painfully short of breath, clutching my throbbing chest. My parents grew concerned. Eventually they brought me to a big hospital for an examination. And there I was diagnosed with a serious heart disease. The doctor's verdict: continuing to lead a normal life outside the hospital would necessitate significant restrictions on my activities. From now on, I'd have to refrain from vigorous exercise. Live peacefully and don't push yourself, otherwise things might take an irreversible turn for the worse. I couldn't study, and I couldn't play the piano. I was never much of an athlete, and even talking with people was a struggle. And now, I'd become an invalid who couldn't even live a normal life. As I watched my parents' faces fill with disappointment, a thought occurred to me. Oh, look at that. My tutors were right all along. They told me I was a stupid, useless person who didn't even deserve to live. And they weren't wrong. They must have said it hundreds of times. Why didn't I figure this out earlier? Of course they beat me. It's only natural to treat garbage like garbage. Thinking that way made me feel a little better. I was stupid to even try and answer my parents' expectations. I wasn't cut out from that from the start. The thought freed me from my burdens. It also wiped away the meaning of my existence. Soon my parents had lost all hope in me and devoted their nights to producing a new child. Their previously frequent visits to my room grew rare, and the time I spent alone increased. My room was always cold. I kept the curtains shut throughout the day. Little by little I felt myself slipping away from the world outside. Nothing I did turned out right, but of course it didn't. I was defective from the start. Clumsy and awkward as I was, I soon found the one and only thing I was good at. Letting time roll past in empty, uneventful silence. I would sit quietly in the corner of my room, not budging a millimeter all day, simply drawing breath. That alone became something of a specialty of mine. Even a mollusk at the bottom of the sea probably couldn't beat me yet staying still. It was all I had left to be proud of. I continued to live like a clam, but biologically speaking, I was a human being. My body grew larger little by little, and in time I stopped being a child. I was no longer allowed to shut myself up in my room doing nothing. I had to go to a place called school. The little mermaid who lived at the bottom of the sea couldn't speak the human tongue very well. By the same token, I couldn't really communicate with the other students. It didn't help that I was a clam, not a beautiful princess. Everyone around me could live a normal life. I envied them from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't study or make friends. Moving around a little would get my heart screaming with pain. Just keeping myself breathing was about all I could manage. At first, a number of my classmates made an effort to draw me out of my solitude, but I didn't know what to say to them. Most of the time I just nodded my head and mumbled yeah with a stiff expression on my face. Inevitably, the people who approached me gradually gave up, and eventually the class came to operate as if I wasn't there. That was kind of a relief in a way. Nobody expected anything from me, so I couldn't disappoint anyone. It was as though I was made of air. Even in school I could return to my life as a clam. I thought that was just fine, not bad at all. My parents made sure I went to school regularly, probably thinking I'd at least have to communicate with other people there, but it wasn't rare for me to go an entire day without speaking a single word. Even when the teacher took attendance, they'd just glare in my direction, not bothering to call my name. As my free time increased, I began to think pretty regularly about the point of my own existence, or rather the pointlessness. Why was I going to school? Why was I even alive? I considered those questions at some length. Watching from afar as my classmates laughed together and chatted enthusiastically about television, sometimes I would have to fight down the urge to burst into tears. They were so close, but I was separated from them by an insurmountable wall. Even a trash can is useful to others. I was just taking up space. Why was I born in the first place? My parents had given me a cell phone, saying I'd probably need it as a student. There wasn't a single message or call recorded in the history log. The memory was clean, pure, white. That phone must have been lighter than anyone else's. It was empty inside. Unless I kept a firm grip on it, it'd probably float up into the air, get pecked by some passing bird, and disappear with a pop. I want to die. In the end, that was my only conclusion. A year passed in that school, then 2, and that was my only constant rock of truth. On the deserted rooftop of the school building, looking up into the blue sky that stretched out over the road to the school, I longed for death. I simply didn't understand the point of continuing to breathe. Living every day as a non-entity is something like walking on an icy road in bare feet. At first it's scary, but soon your nerves are paralyzed. You feel nothing at all. A good while later, when you realize this might be pretty bad, it's already far too late. There's nowhere to go from here. There's nothing to be done. You live every day of your life frozen to the ground, choking on bitter cold air. Might as well just die then. With that thought in mind, I began to head up to the roof during every recess period. Up there, the only thing separating this world from the next was a waist-high steel fence. Someday I'll cross over that fence and become free. Someday I'll escape into nothingness. Comforted by these thoughts, I waited patiently for the right timing. I waited for someone, God or whoever else, to send a sign just for me. I'd wrap my arms around my knees and sit telling myself that maybe today would be the day. Maybe today the clouds would part for a ray of light and a voice from above could say, "Come, it's time." I would stare closely at the trains barreling past the stations, wondering if the sign might flash past in the window of a carriage. But instead I just sat by myself on that roof. No matter how long and patiently I waited, I never saw any signals. Nobody whispered the words in my ear. In the end, I was all alone, just like I was everywhere else. Every place was the same to me. I was in the corner of the room where I'd been beaten terribly. I was deep at the bottom of the sea where no light could have reached me. I was at the end of the world, surrounded on all sides by silent walls of stone. God must have been busy with something else, otherwise why wouldn't he fly over to me and speak those words? One day, when I went to the rooftop as usual, I found a girl who had just in that very moment crossed over the fence. She was standing boldly on the very edge of the building, staring straight ahead. And when I saw her, one powerful thought filled my mind. That's not fair. After all my anguished internal debating, all my suffering, all my waiting, I couldn't get myself over that fence. Why did this girl get to make it look so easy? That girl was going to kill herself. She was going to leap off the roof, fall onto the concrete below, and end her life. It was obvious enough from the way she stood there, straddling the border between roof and sky, arms outstretched like wings to catch the wind. Seems almost to be enjoying herself. It wasn't the sort of pose you could make if you cared about your own life. Anyway, it wasn't fair. Why did she get to die when I had to live? I didn't have the first idea who she was, but it just wasn't fair. That's not fair. I was trying to shout as loudly as I could, but what came out of my mouth was a weak, spiritless sound like the rasping of a broken-down accordion. No fair. That's no fair. Don't die. It's not fair. It probably didn't help that I wasn't used to conversation, but my voice just wasn't coming out right. The girl quietly stared down at the ground far below, not even noticing my presence behind her. She seemed to be looking for the exact moment to jump. Maybe God had already given her the signal. Hey, it's not fair. Stop that. Don't. I called out again and again, but she didn't seem to hear. Maybe I no longer even existed in this world. Maybe I'd slipped into some alternate plane of existence long ago and was just peeking into this world through an interdimensional one-way mirror. She ignored me so completely that it seemed possible. Hey, listen to me. Listen. I called out to her, my voice choked with tears, but even then, she didn't turn around. Let's see. Alright, we'll do this and go. Yeah, ready, set. Hey, listen to me. What? The girl's body went into spasms of shock. She looked like a wild animal with its fur standing on end. Oh, shit scared the hell out of me. Nearly fell off. And then, at long last, she timidly turned around to face me. Who are you? Hey, listen to me. Listen. Huh? Hey, what are you crying for? How long have you been there anyway? It's not fair, dying like that. It's not fair. Not fair, huh? What are you talking about? My tear-stained face must have been a real sight. The girl lifted herself over the fence and returned to this side. She was wearing the same uniform as me. Unsurprisingly, she was clearly from my school. Your face is a total mess. Wanna wipe it off? She handed me her handkerchief and I dried my tears. Nothing like that had ever happened to me before. It was embarrassing, but it made me sort of happy. I didn't really know what to do next. So, what? Need something? That was kind of a hard question, actually. I just didn't want her to die. And it's not like I was about to lecture her on treasuring her life or anything. I was just scared by the thought of someone escaping this world while I was still hesitating on the edge. Well, yeah, what is it? The girl watched me as if observing some rare species of animal. I didn't have the first idea where to begin or how to explain myself. So after thinking it over for quite some time, I chose the simplest option. Nice to meet you. I'm Matsushima Michiru. Huh? Seriously? An introduction now of all times? And that's it? We're done? That's seriously all you had to say, huh? Screwed up after all, huh? Guess I can't even manage a normal conversation anymore. The thought made me genuinely sad. I couldn't find my usual numb indifference. It felt like a harsh reminder that I didn't belong in this world any longer. Watching as I slumped my shoulders dejectedly, the girl burst into laughter, and although I didn't have any real evidence either way, I didn't feel like she was mocking me. It was a relieved, happy laughter, the sort of laughter I hadn't heard in a very long time. What the heck? I wasn't sure what to do, so I just stood there quietly as she laughed and laughed. But no matter how patiently I waited, she just wouldn't stop. Much the opposite. After a while, she threw herself down on the ground and began to roll around, her roars of amusement even louder than before. Ridiculous! What a weirdo! I was so freaking scared, you have no idea. I mean, like, what the heck? Seriously, I thought I was dead. Watching her rolling around like that started to get to me in a kind of a silly mood myself. The moment I noticed the little giggle slipping out of my mouth, the dam seemed to break. I began laughing so loudly I surprised myself. Huh? She's laughing? What the heck? The two of us laughed for a very, very long time. Long enough that the color of the sky changed above us. Long enough that I could almost believe the whole seasons had passed by. When the laughter finally came to an end, the girl rose shakily to her feet, both hands clutching her belly. She opened her mouth to speak, but at first she could only manage a few high-pitched giggles. Sheesh, now I don't even feel like dying anymore. So that was it after all. The girl had been planning to die. I knew that much from the start, but when she came out and said it so bluntly, I was still slightly taken aback. So stupid. What a joke. Yes, this means I owe you my life, huh? Your life? Right? Yeah, that's how it is. Thank you. I didn't deserve to be thanked by anyone. Why was she saying this to me? Why? Why? Huh? No, why you're crying? Come on, there. Alright, come down. Shh. Yeah, okay. Why? The girl wrapped a hand around my neck and drew me close. After briefly petting my head, she hugged me tightly against her. You really are a weird girl, aren't you? That's just how I like my women. Kidding. Her chest had a sweet, milky odor. I'd never smelled another girl's body like this before. I didn't know what to do. About anything, really. It was all too much. My mind just couldn't keep up. Alright then, why don't we be friends? Yeah, let's be friends. I mean, you're my savior after all. Of course we're friends. Heck, that's the best friend territory right there. We're clearly best friends. Yeah, wait, what? Best friends? Nice to meet you, best friend. It's a pleasure to meet you. I convinced myself there was no place for me in this world, but when I felt the life pulsing in her chest, I found myself able to breathe easily again. She smelled sweet, and her body was soft and warm. I couldn't remember the last time I'd been so close to another person. Contact with other people had always seemed so scary, and it really was scary to be honest. But at the same time, how can I put this? More than anything else, it felt like someone was gently tickling my heart. I returned home that day feeling as if I'd been reborn. Probably because of my unusually cheerful expression, my parents struck up conversation with me for the first time in a while. I wasn't able to explain very well, but I did tell them I'd gotten to know somebody at school. I didn't say I made a friend, let alone a best friend. After all, there was still a chance it had all been a delusion on my part. Maybe tomorrow, everything would be right back to the way it was. That would be way too sad, right? Better not get my hopes up. My parents said, I see, good for you. Mixed emotion on their faces. Not that it bothered me much. That night I ate my dinner slightly earlier than usual and slipped into bed slightly before my normal time. For once, I actually wanted tomorrow to arrive a little faster. But in school the next day I found everything the same. It wasn't like I had changed after all. I was still just myself. Nobody in my class even tried to talk to me. That morning I thought I might be able to keep a bit of a smile on my face, but in the end my expression was gloomier than ever. Maybe that girl I met the day before was a sign from God. A little cosmic meddling to keep me from killing myself at the wrong time. Could have just said so from the start then. I nearly misunderstood, nearly thought I'd found someplace where I belonged. Nearly thought it was okay for me to live. Nearly started thinking like a normal person. That was a close one. I almost forgot what my tutors taught me so thoroughly. Yeah, that had to be it. I didn't have a best friend. It was all a dreams. That was all a dream. Dreams aren't worth it, are they? You end up feeling really tired when you wake up. After school, I stood from my seat before anyone else and beeline for the exit. For now, I just wanted to get out of that place. But the rooftop had become frightening, so I couldn't go back there. I wanted to run away, but I couldn't figure out where to go. All I knew was that I didn't want to be where I was. When I slid open the door and dashed out into the hallway, there was a harsh thump and everything went black for a moment. In my haste, I'd run headlong into someone. I'm sorry. Somehow, squeezing out the words, I turned to run, but before I could take another step, someone firmly seized me by the back of my uniform. I reflexively dropped my back and shielded my head against the blow that would surely follow. This was a deeply ingrained habit from my childhood. When the tutors hit my head strongly, the nausea and dizziness would sometimes last for hours. If nothing else, I wanted to avoid that. But the violence I feared didn't arrive. On the contrary, my captor bent down and picked up the bag I'd thrown to the ground. You're a strange one, Matsushima Michiru. As always. Huh? It was the first time in a while somebody had bothered to call me that. A silly thought flashed through my head. Oh, so that's what my name sounds like. Hey, you hungry? Wanna get some dum-dum? My treat. Dum-dum? In front of my eyes was the girl from my dream. I was definitely awake, but somehow I was dreaming. You won't turn me down, right? We're best friends after all. Have some other plans? I couldn't get myself to speak properly, so I shook my head vigorously from left to right. No, nothing at all. And I kept right on doing it until at last the girl reached out and caught my cheeks in her hands to hold me still. Yeah, I got it. Okay then, let's go. I'm starving. She led me by the hand, and for the first time in my life, I entered a so-called fast food restaurant. The complicated menu and colorful photograph left me lightheaded, and I didn't have the first idea what to order. After stewing in confusion and panic for a while, I tugged on her sleeve. Is this seriously your first time in this sort of place? I quietly nodded my head. She just watched me for a moment, then laughed in amusement. A little later, a small tray sat on a surprisingly cramped little table, bearing the hamburger and fries the girl ordered for me. It felt like she was really close. Eating a meal with my face so near to someone else's made me kind of nervous. I could feel my stomach churning. What was I gonna do if I threw up? So you were in the next class over, huh? I had no idea there was such a funny kid over there. What's wrong? This isn't like the photo at all. It's all squished. What? The hamburger? You really are funny. Yeah, funny? Yep, funny. Oh, hey, you know what your classmates call you? Me? They call me something? That's right, they do. And it's an insult. They call you Ghost Girl. What a laugh, right? I was all, come on now, told them to give it a rest. She chattered happily on, swinging a fry back and forth. I had no idea how to respond. I mean, I was surprised to know they bothered to badmouth me, but I was even more shocked she told them to stop. Why was this person being so nice to me? And you're a real little lady to boot, aren't you? But still, seriously, never had fast food before? Little far out of the mainstream there, don't you think? Little lady? That's right, you're a regular princess. So, anyway, you got a cell phone? We should totally IR. IR? Alright, I guess we'll save that for next time. For the time being, how about you eat up? Go ahead. This is my treat, you know, so you'd better save it, Mr. Squishy there. Can't exactly afford to get you anything better. I picked up the miserably flat little hamburger from its bed of wrapping paper and took a large bite. To my surprise, a strong, vibrant flavor instantly filled my mouth. It might not have looked anything like the photo, but it actually tasted really good. Oh, what you think? Pretty decent, right? Yeah, it's tasty. Huh? Why are you crying? Huh? I don't get it. It's tasty? You're crying because it's tasty? That's going a little overboard. But I'm sure Mr. Elephant's very pleased with himself. The hamburger was warm, the girl in front of me was kind, and I couldn't stop crying. Not surprisingly, she looked a little astounded, but even so she laughed. No matter what I did, she'd laugh. After that, she started coming by every day after school, inviting me along to all sorts of different places. I guess you must have found my complete cluelessness kind of entertaining. One day it was karaoke, the next day an arcade, the day after that something else entirely. I got to see a lot of new places, and I experienced a lot of new things. Hey, what's this first puri sign mean? She laughed when I asked that question too. More than anything else, she was a girl who laughed a lot, and the places I went with her were always glittering with vivid rainbows of light. When I went back home after we said goodbye, my room looked stale and dismal by comparison. It was like falling into a broken down monochrome world. More and more I spent my time impatiently counting down the hours until her next outing, wishing she'd swoop down and take me out of there. I remember getting off the train with her at some station I'd never visited before and buying a matching pencil boxes in a store I'd never even known existed. After anguishing over my choice for a dozen of minutes, I bought her a small hairpin as a present, and got a pouch in return. We traded hair scrunchies, ate ice cream together. The days rolled by like one unbroken dream. Her email address and phone number were recorded in my cell phone. I was too scared to send her a message or dial her number, but for some reason just looking at those characters on the screen would bring a smile to my face. One day the two of us were on the rooftop after school, gazing leisurely out at the setting sun. The girl spoke to me in a quiet voice as the wind blew through her hair. "You aren't gonna ask, are you, Michiru?" "About what?" "Why I was going to jump?" She was always smiling, so I was taken aback to see her looking serious all of a sudden. And more importantly, that completely unexpected question left me thoroughly flustered. "I mean, you wanted to die, right? That's all there is to it. What else would I ask?" "True enough. No other reason why you jump, is there?" "You really are a weird girl, Michiru." "You think? I don't know. You know, people just love asking me questions. About the future, boyfriends, part-time jobs, marks on my wrists. I can't keep track of it all anymore. I want to live in a simple world." I didn't really understand what she was saying, so I listened very carefully. I hoped, that if I listened carefully enough, I'd be able to pick up at least a little. I mean, when you get right down to it, we're all alone, right? It's not like anybody cares about me from the bottom of their heart. Everybody disappears in the end. I wanted to say it wasn't true, but I couldn't manage to speak. Don't want to be hated, so I'll hate first, before they can leave me. I want to disappear, or whatever. Sorry, I gotta get going. Okay, take care. Michiru? What? I love you. With those words, she playfully kissed me on the cheek. My face went red as a lobster, and I made a strange little "ah-wah" noise. I'm just messing with you. Later. The evening sun was just sinking below the horizon as she left, still laughing. I just stood there for a while as darkness settled over the rooftop. That cell phone was always ringing. I didn't like it. Every time she was called off somewhere, she'd be quiet and subdued for a long time afterward. Her smiles looked forced. I was worried somebody might be doing cruel things to her, but I wasn't able to ask. Sometimes I noticed nasty bruises on her arms and legs, even her faces every once in a while. She'd always just laugh it off. "It's okay, I'm fine, don't worry." I knew it wasn't. It wasn't okay at all. But I was afraid that asking her something would pop the bubble, destroy what we had, so I kept quiet. Even then, I knew I was being a coward. She had pulled me up from the bottom of the sea. Shouldn't I return the favor? Take her hand like she did for me? The question tormented me for a very long time. But there was no way I could do what she had done. I was still a piece of trash. It only thanks to her that I could laugh a little. It was only thanks to her that I had found a little happiness. I couldn't allow myself to misunderstand. This was a temporary world, a dream I'd wake up from eventually. Lingering alone on the roof, I gripped the cold metal handrail tightly. I still didn't have the courage to make the short journey to the other side of that fence. For a few days after answering that phone call, my friend didn't attend school. I was afraid something bad might have happened to her, just like when I was a child. I knelt by my windowsill and whispered countless prayers. Please keep her safe, God. Please keep a smile on her face. At school, I would hesitate in my classroom at the end of the day, thinking she might appear in the doorway, like always, to drag me off to play. But I was a ghost in that class. I didn't dare make myself conspicuous. I reluctantly trudged up to the roof and waited for her, but no matter how patiently I waited, she never came. There was nothing but the steady passage of time. I did nothing but draw breath in a monochrome world. One day somebody called my cell phone from a withheld number. I was scared to pick it up, but thinking it just might be her, I gathered all the courage I could muster and pressed the answer button. Hello? On the other side of the line, I heard someone breathing harshly, as if in pain. Maybe it was nothing more than a random prank call from a stranger. But in my mind's eye, I saw her on the other end, the person I cared about more than anyone else in the world. And I remembered her words on the roof that day. I mean, when you get right down to it, we're all alone, right? It's not like anybody really cares about me from the bottom of their heart. Everybody disappears in the end. Don't want to be hated, so I'll hate first, before they can leave me. I want to disappear, or whatever. Back then, I wasn't able to give her a proper response. I'd left so many things unsaid. I decided to convey those feelings to whoever this might be. Why do you think you're alone? You have someone who thinks of you as a friend, who cares about you very much. So why do you keep trying to go off somewhere on your own? You don't know how painful it is to be left behind, do you? That's why you keep trying to go away. Everybody loses things. Being hated isn't unusual either. I love you very much, so please, don't go anywhere. If you're feeling sad right now, then let's become happy together. Come back here and let's be together from now on. The person on the other end of the line hung up without a single word. It felt as though I'd been abandoned, left behind. I squeezed my cell phone tightly in my hand. Even now, I don't know who called me that day. The next time I saw my friend was more than 2 weeks later. By that point, even sitting through class had become unbearably agonizing. I spent the entire day on the roof waiting for her. And one day, completely out of the blue, she appeared before me once again. Eesh, that's not good. I couldn't say a word. There wasn't a trace remaining of the girl who had always laughed so happily. Her school uniform was tattered and torn, and her hair looked like it had been hacked with a knife. Her face too, it was full of bruises, numerous wounds as cruel as anything the tutors had inflicted on me were openly visible even in the most conspicuous of places. Something terrible must have happened, something so terrible I didn't even want to imagine it, and it must have lasted a horribly long time. Just like that, there were tears in my eyes. God didn't protect her. I couldn't protect her. It's okay. This is what I wanted, you know. I did this because I didn't want him to throw me away. I hadn't asked a question, but she answered it anyway. Those clipped, vague words weren't enough for me to understand what had really happened to her. But I knew she was lying. I knew many sad, horrible things must have happened. Things she couldn't possibly have wanted to happen. I slowly approached her, then wrapped my arms around her trembling body. It surprised even me. I hadn't expected myself to do such a thing. Thanks. You're sweet, Michiru. That's not true. No, it is. You really are a kind girl. You've heard the rumors, right? Well, they're true. Must think I'm an idiot, huh? It's okay, you can laugh. In the classroom, my friend had become the subject of rumors. My classmates said she'd gotten to know a man decades older than her over the internet. A man with wife and children. They said he treated her like his mistress. They said something about photos of her and that man getting scattered around on the internet. They said he'd done terrible things to her. But none of it mattered to me. No matter what had happened, it didn't change the fact that she was my best friend. No, you're not. I'm the stupid one. Guess you have a point. Making friends with me, of all people, you must be pretty dumb. That's not true. You know, everyone hates me here. Didn't really have any friends or anything. But I want you to know something. It's not like I became friends with you because nobody else would give me a at the time of the day. I made friends with you because I liked you. That's true, if nothing else. But I guess it's probably pretty hard to believe a liar like me, huh? I wanted to say, of course I know that, but my voice failed me. It felt as though a chunk of cardboard had wedged itself in my throat. I couldn't force out even a single tiny squeak. I really do think of you as my best friend, Michiru. Sorry for being such a filthy excuse for a friend. I'm really sorry for being like this. I wanted to tell her that she wasn't filthy, but I couldn't say a word. All I could do was hug her tightly. I love him. Whatever he told me to do, I did it. Knew all along that stuff about leaving his wife was a lie. That's enough. You don't have to talk about it. It's okay. It didn't even bother me when he got violent. No matter how many times he'd hit me, I never complained, but I'm done, you see. He doesn't love me anymore. She gave another pretend kiss on my cheek. I closed my eyes and returned the gesture. Watching me, she smiled, just a little. Scraps of her uniform danced in the wind like feathers fallen from the wing of a bird. She put her hands on the fence and swung herself gracefully over to the other side. Michiru, I'm done. I don't want to live in this world where he isn't interested in me. I don't want to live in the world without him in it. Straddling the border between the roof and the sky, standing on the line that divided this world from the next, she spoke to me. A single thought ran through my dazed brain. It's just like the first time we met. I'm gonna go ahead. I wanted to say, I'll come with you. You're not the only one, you know. I'm not interested in a world without you in it, so if you're going, I'll come along. Just don't leave me behind. Don't leave me here alone. I wanted to tell her, you joked that you loved me once, but I really do love you. That's the reason I'm still alive today. I wanted her to know, but I couldn't speak or move. My body felt like it was encased in concrete. I couldn't lift a single finger. Goodbye, Michiru. I wanted to say the words, we're best friends, aren't we? Let's die together. But instead I just watched her in silence like a complete idiot. See, I was right. I'm the stupid one after all. Oh. I didn't know what to do. I just cowered. And then I tried to scramble over the rail, to see her, to see the end. But I couldn't do it. No matter what, I couldn't get myself over that fence. I could feel my feet giving way underneath me. I couldn't even keep myself upright. Why hadn't I died with her? I was right from the start. There was never a place for me here. Screwed up big this time, didn't I? Shouldn't have let myself think I could become a normal person. Shouldn't have thought I could find something like happiness. In the end, it vanishes. The bubble pops. In that case, it would have been better never to have never got my hopes up in the first place. Just like my parents stopped expecting anything of me, I should have stopped expecting anything from the world. I heard the wail of a siren and a chorus of horrified screams from far away, and then I fainted, my body still twined awkwardly around that fence. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard the sound like the click of a television set falling silent. I don't know if it was a hallucination or not, but I heard it clearly. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. It seems I had been unconscious for quite a long time. Normally there would have been police waiting at my bed to question me, but Dad took care of all that. Probably less out of concern for me than out of his desire to keep this troublesome situation from dragging on. I thought they'd discharge me soon enough, but I discovered that my chronic chest pain had grown dramatically more intense. My body was no longer physically capable of enduring a normal life. The doctor said the shock of losing a close friend may well have advanced the progression of the disease, but I didn't really know if that was true. Either way, the pain in my heart was now so agonizing it could at times render me unconscious. My parents had more or less abandoned me, but I guess this miserable new development managed to move them to pity. They decided to send me to America for a heart transplant operation. Personally, I wouldn't have minded just dying, but it seemed like those two wanted to feel like caring parents, so I decided I might as well go along with it. Things moved along behind my back, large amounts of money traded hands, although I didn't know the details. They didn't tell me much of anything about the donor, and I wasn't particularly interested either. All they said was I'd be receiving the heart of a brain-dead girl of the same age as me. I'm sure it must have been a really big, complicated operation, but since that day on the rooftop, I've been living like an empty husk. Can't say it felt like much of an ordeal. They carried me off on an airplane to a place where I couldn't understand a word anyone was saying. The doctor put me under anesthesia, and I fell asleep. Before I knew it, I was right back in Japan. It really did seem to happen in the blink of an eye. I didn't have time to feel much of anything. My procedure apparently went about as smoothly as possible. They pumped me full of immunosuppressants to prevent my body from rejecting the new heart, but I recovered quickly without any side effects. It didn't even feel particularly strange, having another person's organ inside my body. Sometimes I feel I almost doubted whether they really operated on me. Of course, just touching the scar on my chest was enough to convince myself it had to be true. But really, what difference did it make either way? The lump of flesh inside me constantly thumping away was different from the one that had been in there yesterday. That was all. Nobody was going to care. Nothing important had changed. My doctor celebrated my remarkable recovery from the surgery as a miracle, so enthusiastic you might have thought my good fortune was his own. My parents had relieved expressions on their faces as well, expressions that seemed to read, "Now we won't have to worry yourself about this girl anymore." The many months I had spent in various hospitals came to an end, and I began to recuperate at home. That was when the first signs of the change began to appear. Apparently I was saying uncharacteristic things to my parents. I was talking and behaving in ways I usually wouldn't, almost as if I had become a completely different person. My parents were incredulous at first, half suspecting some kind of elaborate prank, but as they knew I wasn't exactly a practical joker by nature. I wasn't consciously aware of any of this. My alternate personality came at the price of gaps in my memory. Maybe I was sleepwalking, or turning into a different person without even realizing it. A doctor diligently studied my brain activity and asked me all sorts of questions, but in the end he could only offer a vague conclusion. This phenomenon can't be explained by modern medicine. Ultimately, the adults decided that the powerful psychological impact of losing a friend in front of my eyes had led to changes in my personality. But I didn't really care either way. I responded with a disinterested, "Oh, that's so. Good to hear." The gaps in my memories became frequent, and as time passed they grew longer and harder to ignore. The other me who showed up in these chunks of lost time seemed surprisingly competent. From what I gathered, she was much more sociable than I was, and a lot better at schoolwork as well. One night I noticed dinner was a little extravagant. Dad smiled across the table and told me it was a reward for trying so hard at my studies lately. It was kind of a strange experience, but I didn't really mind. I mean, if things were going smoothly, who cared if I remembered doing the things I was being praised for or not? As this pattern continued, I found myself acquiring a number of friends as well. Of course, I'd gotten to know them during the blank spaces of my memories, so I didn't really know what sort of people they were. Without any effort on my part, lots of people began greeting me in a friendly tone on the road to school. After saying hi, they'd usually ask, "What's wrong? Not feeling so good today?" Seems like they saw the usual me as the sick Michiru, and the person who showed up in those blank periods of lost time as the normal, cheerful Michiru. "What's wrong? You seem a little down today." I was lying down in my room one evening when Dad stopped by to check up on me. "That's not like you. Come on, where's my cheerful Michiru?" Not knowing what else to do, I forced a strange smile onto my face. "It's all right. I'm sure you will feel better tomorrow. We'll say goodbye to sad Michiru soon enough." Smiling, Dad left the room and closed the door behind him. And all of a sudden an image flashed into my head. An image of a girl frozen in flight. It was the girl who'd left me so abruptly, my best friend who abandoned this world. Her final goodbye echoed in my head, rebounding off the walls of my skull. The word was terribly sharp. Every time it clanged against the bone, it felt as though someone was drilling me open from the inside. Trembling with fear and pain, I dove into my bed in search of refuge. Greasy sweat broke out on my forehead. I swallowed a few of the pills my doctor had prescribed, pulled the blanket over my head, and squeezed my eyes shut. If I can get past this, I'll become the cheerful Michiru again. I can't break down now. I silently repeated those words to myself. And soon enough, drowsiness wrapped me up in a thick, sticky cocoon, blanket and all. Finally, I'll be able to sleep. I'll pull through after all. It was just as though thoughts were running hazily through my mind, just as I stood on the border between reality and dreams, when I heard the unfamiliar voice from outside my blanket. "It's all right. Calm down. You don't need to worry about a thing." I didn't understand in the slightest how this was supposed to be all right. Hearing the voice of some strange woman as I tried to fall asleep really didn't seem to qualify. "I'll cover for your weak points. I mean, we'll be together forever, right? We should be friends. Yes, let's be best friends." The instant I heard those words, I felt my heart pound violently. A sharp, white-hot pain spread from my chest throughout my entire body, as if traveling through my blood vessels. "Don't call yourself that. I only have one best friend. I only need one." I remembered the doctor offhandedly mentioning a phenomenon known as cellular memory. In rare cases, patients receiving heart transplant had seemed to inherit the aspects of the previous owner's taste or memories. Maybe it was true. Maybe it had happened to me. No, this wasn't anything so minor. The former owner's entire personality had slipped inside me, complete and distinct from my own, and now she was talking to me, declaring herself my best friend. I wasn't about to put up with that. Another best friend was the last thing I needed. "I hate you! You don't get to decide who my best friend is." Throwing off the covers, my pulse pounding in fear of my own body, I shouted at the disembodied voice. "It's all right. I just want to help you out." "I don't want your help. She was the only one who could help me." I couldn't even tell if this was reality or some insane nightmare. My terror escalated into frenzy. I ripped out clumps of my own hair, bit my own arms and kicked things all over the room until my feet bled. But it wasn't enough. I grabbed a box cutter from my desk, grasped it tightly in my hands and listened carefully, trying to figure out where the voice was coming from. The voice was the cause of this pain. It flowed through my body with the blood thumping out of my heart, bringing agony with it. I had to get that voice out of my body. With that thought, I cut at my wrist with the blade, trying to drain the voice out of me along with my blood. But no matter how my arm bled, the voice remained securely inside my body. In that case, I had no choice. I needed to uproot it directly. I needed to get rid of that foreign entity pulsing away inside of me. I pointed the blade at my own chest and stabbed as hard as I could. It wasn't the sharpest blade, but it broke the skin easily enough. Slowly, it gouged its way through my flesh, just a little further, and I'd reach the heart. The invasion would soon be over soon. I'd be rid of the voice. I felt relief washing over me. But just then I smelled a distinctive mixture of cigarettes and strange woman, and I realized that my father had entered the room. My God, Michiru! Why? Before I knew it, my room had become a disaster scene. The shattered and torn remnants of my belongings stained dark redwood splashes of fresh blood. The box cutter fell from my hands and hit the ground with a dull thunk. The sound abruptly brought me back to reality. Dad's familiar face was so contorted that he looked like an entirely different person. I had to smile, had to reassure him. But different words came out of my mouth. Daddy? Am I going crazy? Dad hugged me closely for the first time in many years, but it was very different from that girl's embrace. Even though he was holding me close, I could feel a vast chasm looming between us. That very night, I was admitted to a new hospital. Not that I had any choice in the matter. It was very quiet there. All of the patients were tranquil and sedate. Sometimes I felt as though I'd wandered into some forgotten corner of the afterlife. There were times when I found their constant, unchanging smiles frightening, but I got the idea soon enough. Basically, it was a place where you could live without being tangled up in your emotions. You could pass the time peacefully, thinking about nice things. To put the opposite spin on it, in that place you weren't allowed to think about anything else. The medicine they gave me there made my mind feel pleasantly clear. My other personalities stopped emerging entirely. It was like living inside a tightly closed music box. Boring, but very peaceful. I stayed in there for a long time. I didn't talk with anyone. For the most part, I just stood quietly by the wall, trying not to stand out. Trying to shrink myself down to the point where the world would overlook me. But one day I tripped on the leg of a chair and fell to the ground. That had never happened before, so I wasn't sure what to do. Fortunately, no one insulted me or yelled angrily. Instead, a few patients nearby put their hands to their mouth and giggled softly in amusement. I liked hearing that sound, and lying there on the floor, an idea occurred to me. Maybe if I fell on purpose, I could make people laugh again. The next day I tripped again. Again, the people who noticed me laughed a little. The day after that, I deliberately spilled a glass of water, and once more I heard the pleasant sound of laughter. Emboldened by my success, I spoke. Silly cop spilled all on its own. More people laughed than before. Their voices were warm and gentle. I found a way to make myself useful, by devoting myself to clowning around. I could at least make others smile. From that day on, I acted out a sillier version of myself, an exaggerated, funny caricature of me, and I sustained myself on sugary sweet diet of laughter. Alright then, from now on, I'd go with this way of life. The pretending didn't bother me. It was worth it to do something for other people. It was worth it to have something to live for. Nobody had appreciated me before because I wanted them to like the real me. Problem was, the real me wasn't any good, so I might as well just pretend. All I had to do was act out the most convenient role, force out the most convenient emotions, become someone who put a smile on people's faces. Even if that meant the real me disappeared entirely, I didn't care. I was a little anxious about whether someone as stupid as me could even act convincingly, but I had no choice but to try. Among the patients, I gained a niche as the weird but funny girl. As I grew into the role, I became more lively. In time, the doctors decided I was on my way to full recovery and politely ejected me from the hospital. I'd lost my place in the world, but my parents soon found me another. Apparently they heard somewhere or other about this special school that only gathers students with complicated circumstances. I was enrolled in Mihammer Academy soon after my return. I kept right on playing the clown in this school. I thought it would be nice to keep everyone laughing, and in fact that's just how things turned out. The days rolled past pleasantly enough for the most part. But every once in a while I'd abruptly remember that this too was nothing but an artificial make-believe world. When everyone laughed together, I wasn't smiling from the heart, and over time my uncertainty grew. I didn't want to lose what I'd found here, but I didn't want to grow dependent on it. The more I pretended to be someone I wasn't, the less I understood what I wanted to do. Did an imposter like me really belong here in the first place? It felt like I was living in an antlion's pit. There was nowhere else for me to go, nowhere out of the rut. All I could do was struggle not to fall. Oh, that's a weird place for the text box, but sure. So, that's me. Having delivered her lengthy story in one uninterrupted setting, Michiru finally pauses, her face lined with fatigue. Hold on, I'm trying to see if I can fix this somehow. I've been taking medicine to suppress the other person inside of me. I've been living as a make-believe character to make people laugh. That's who I am, so thanks. Thanks for sleeping with the likes of me, even if it was fake, even if you were just pretending to love me. Thank you for doing it. I guess it made me so happy that I almost let myself misunderstand, but don't worry, I know it was all a lie. When you hugged me or kissed me, I would always think, I don't want this moment to end. But everything ends, doesn't it? Everybody goes away eventually. Pretty scary, isn't it? Scratching my head, I search for the words Michiru needs to hear. They prove surprisingly easy to find. What you need right now isn't this fatalistic pessimism. It's medical treatment. Your problem's too complex to face on your own. Go to a hospital and have the professional diagnose you, then work slowly and surely toward getting better. I think I understand the general outline of the situation. The memories of an organ donor have influenced Michiru's mind, or so she thinks at least. It's not a common phenomenon, but apparently it's not entirely unprecedented either. Whatever the case may be, what the girl needs is appropriate treatment in an appropriate setting. Yeah, so I gotta go back to the hospital, no matter what? I'd strongly recommend it. I doubt they'll keep you there longer than a week for an examination like this, and I'm worried about you. Worried, huh? That'd make me happy if you mean it. Why would I lie? I didn't dislike that make-believe game of yours. I probably could have found another way to occupy myself, but spending time with you was, well, enjoyable. Really? I'm not lying. How many times do you want me to say the exact same thing? I'm sorry, but you enjoyed being with me? That makes me really happy. I don't want you to disappear on me, Michiru. I'd find that unpleasant. Unpleasant? Why? This is seriously the last time I'm going to repeat myself, because the time I spent with you wasn't half bad. Yeah. I take Michiru by the shoulders and look her straight in the eyes. You're living in the present, Michiru. Don't let yourself get caught up in the past. You can't fix it. What's done can't be undone, but the future is still yours to shape. Incredibly obvious, yes, but it doesn't hurt to keep that in mind. Right now your future is on the line. You need to take control of it. With that said, I kiss Michiru briefly on the lips. She turns down her face in embarrassment and hesitates for a moment, studying the floor as if deciding which words to pick off the ground. Thanks, Yuuji. In the end, she chooses extremely simple ones. Extremely simple, but not half bad. A pretty respectable choice, actually. Anyway, if you say I should go for an examination, Yuuji, I'll do it. Tomorrow even. I mean, the earlier the better, right? True. Leave the arrangement with the hospitals to me. I'll get something worked out. Thanks. Sorry to be such a nuisance. You're not a nuisance, but if you're feeling guilty anyway, you can show me gratitude once you're feeling better. Using my body? No, don't be an idiot. Just kidding. Hey, if we're going to the hospital tomorrow, can we leave early in the morning? I don't mind, but why? It'd be embarrassing if the other girls saw, you know, so, well, yeah, that's it. Could we make it 5 in the morning, please? Sure, not a problem. For now, you should get some rest. Yeah, got it. Hey, Yuuji, I love you. Not psych, as if... She delivers this line in such a subdued, quavery tone of voice that I can't help but laugh. Yeah, I got it. Alright then, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you. Well, looks like I'm going to end up indebted to Chizuru yet again. I spent my walk to the principal's office ruminating on Michiru's story. Her tale is still fragmentary and the plot's tangled. Deciphering it is going to be difficult. Might even turn out to be one of those books you can spend a lifetime on without ever finding a conclusive interpretation. But even so, I've decided to keep turning the pages. Why? Because it feels like the thing to do. Simple as that. And that was a very long episode, but definitely an episode that Michiru's story needed. So unlike the other stories, its pacing is much different, and I really like that. It makes it less feeling like you're doing the same thing 5 times in a row, which other harem games might feel like, that you're essentially going to the same date. Obviously, the premise here is that Yuuji needs to unlock what sort of trauma and what sort of business is happening or have happened with these girls before he can get them to a point where they are, quotation marks, in a state of being better. Anyways, that's it for this episode. So, until next time, take care.